Growing up, I remember playing in the yard with my friends, having bonfires, and playing manhunt. My childhood was absolutely something I will never forget. But in today's world, children are not getting to experience the same kind of childhood that I did. Technology has become huge in today's world, and children are suffering because of it. It is wrong for children to be on the internet between the ages of 0 and 12 without parental supervision. Although the world we know today is drastically changing every single day, children are feeling the effects of a technology-heavy society. The children of today are spending way less time outside and more time with their face in a screen. Since we're living in a digital age now more than we have ever been. According to an article called How Childhood Has Changed and How That Impacts Education, kids spend more time today on screens or more time shopping than they do in what we used to call childhood, which was free, outdoor, unstructured play. Also, in an article named The Impact of Technology on Kids Today and Tomorrow, it says, research shows that the average 8 to 10-year-old spends almost 8 hours a day with a variety of media. And older children and teenagers spend around 11 hours a day per day with media. And that time adds up, and young people are spending more time on technology than they are in school. It is evident that childhood will never be the same, but why is it so bad for these young children, and why is it so wrong for these young children to be on technology all the time? Well, it's wrong because it affects their sleep schedules. Many times parents allow their children to be on tablets or phones or whatever it may be before they fall asleep, and that gets them out of having to put the child to sleep and to bed. Therefore, they're avoiding that pain, that part of their day that may not be enjoyable for them. According to ScienceDaily.com, a new study has found that first exposure earlier than 18 months of age to screen devices such as smartphone, tablets, and other things, and the presence of multiple screen devices in the bedroom are associated with elevated sleep disruption and emotional behavioral difficulties in preschool children with neurodevelopmental disorders. And unfortunately, that's not all. It's also so wrong for these young kids to be on technology because it affects their brain development. Children's brains are super easily influenced because they're not developed yet. Although the tech industry maybe didn't set out to have this effect happen on these children, it's definitely a side effect, and they really don't care. Unless, if they're making money, then they don't care. An article named When Should Kids Get Smartphones? A survey states that screens on mobile devices cause overstimulation, producing dopamine and adrenaline in the brain. This makes them highly addictive. It also says, in addition, this age group is just starting to learn social skills that should be taught in person rather than on a screen. And to be quite honest, that's honestly not even the worst of it. Lastly, this is so wrong for these kids because they are exposed to nudity and porn way earlier than they should ever be. And with little to no parental control, there's really no way to know what these children are looking at. And although these kids obviously didn't set out to see these things, they're vulnerable and they don't know not to look. Children have a weak will and they're easily swayed. So, of course, it's not really anyone's fault other than the parents, and they need to have control over what their kids are watching. So this will affect them as they grow older, just like anything else. In an article from the American College of Pediatricians, it states, studies reveal that the more an adolescent watches television programming featuring sexual conduct, the more likely that adolescent is to prematurely initiate sexual activity. Teens exposed to a high level of sexual content were also twice as likely to experience a pregnancy within the next 3 years as compared to those teens who viewed less sexual programming. And that's a quote right from that very respected source. So I understand that there are some people who are going to disagree with me and say that technology is actually better for these children. And they may say that technology is helping children connect with one another since the internet can kind of reach anyone in the world. And while this may seem like something that is good for these children, it's actually really wrong and false. An article named The Positive and Negative Effects of Technology on Children says social communication skills are also in jeopardy due to tech overuse. These skills are developed and honed through daily interactions and include knowing how to take turns during a conversation, using facial expressions, changing the way you speak based on listener, such as how you talk to a baby versus an adult, and making appropriate eye contact. Such personal interactions are limited as children passively view a screen. Therefore, these children aren't really learning how to interact with their peers or their teachers or really anyone, to be honest. They are kind of learning how to be social incorrectly through a screen, and that can really affect them for the rest of their lives. So, and then other people may point out something else, such as technology can lead to more education and more overall development of the child. And while that may be true, that doesn't hold true for the younger generation, the 0 to 12-year-olds. As I've stated before, their brains are still developing, and them being on a screen or just viewing any technology all day is really going to slow down that developmental process. They shouldn't be allowed to roam the internet freely without any parental interaction, and it's just definitely going to create issues in the future for them. So the moral of the story here is technology is really not as useful to these younger generations as a lot of people think. Children of today are exposed to technology way too early, especially those in the 0 to 12 age range. There's so many reasons why children being exposed to technology too early is wrong and bad. But these tech companies really don't care about these children, and I believe that both the parents and the tech companies should be monitoring these children, and maybe the tech companies should have this in mind when they're creating whatever it is that they create, and just know that there are young people viewing everything. So gone are the days of manhunt and bonfires, but I really hope that one day we can get back there and allow these children to have a childhood and not just have their heads glued to a screen. Thanks.